All right, hello everybody. Welcome back for another You Asked, and I am going to answer. And today we've got a question on the cinematographer's best friend, right? The old yeller of cinematographers around the world for the past maybe decade. If you are low on ideas, if you are low on cool factor with the location or the commercial that you're shooting or the interview or whatever it is, if you think it doesn't look that good, you're like, how do I impress other cinematographers on the internet? What do I need to make this more epic? The answer is, and always will be until the AI overlords take over, haze. Haze is the answer to that question. And let's go to the actual comment. And this is from a video where I was doing a review on having very limited resources and doing an away travel job. And one of the things that was mandatory was haze. Why? Because haze makes everything look slightly better than no haze. And it's hard to describe. It's not like you don't want to use a giant heavy amount of haze to make things look better, but it should almost be invisible to the eye. And you say, well, why is that going to look better if it's invisible to the eye? This is something that you just have to learn along the way. It does look better. I didn't make it up. You'll figure it out too. Okay, so that's where this question comes from, the use of haze. This is Rick Fast, 1477. This is great. Do you ever have any issues with haze setting off smoke alarms? I always want to use it, but sometimes I have higher-ups worried about smoke alarms. Okay, so before I answer, I'm just going to modify the question slightly so that it makes sense in the real world of commercials, which is what I occupy. Okay, do you ever have any issues with setting off smoke alarms? I would say there are always issues with haze setting off smoke alarms all the time. It sets it off no matter where you are, no matter what location, no matter how many times you've checked, whether or not the smoke alarms have been shower capped or whether they have been plugged up or whether they've been turned off or whether they've been cut off from the mains. There will always be issues, right? But remember, what's your job as a cinematographer? You create the problems. Who solves them? Other people. And then I always want to use it. That's good. But sometimes I have higher-ups worried about smoke alarms. Okay, I always want to use it. That's something that you should never say. Never say that part. Because the good part, if you want to be a cinematographer on the internet, what you need to do is you need to make fun of and mock every single tool in the toolkit. You don't want to say that you actually do that. You say you want to look down on those people that would use haze to make their boring scenes look any better. And that's the number one step if you want to build a honest reputation, is you make fun of everyone that uses this stuff, even though it's true. Even though we all use it, you can't admit to that. But sometimes I have higher-ups worried about smoke alarms. So higher-ups, if they have half a brain and they have been around for more than one job, they should absolutely be concerned with smoke alarms going off. And I will give you, from my own experience, smoke alarms going off in a location like an interior house or something, somewhere that is not commercial, that's generally not a problem, right? Sound people are going to be pissed. There's going to be a minute where you have to turn off the chirping and it's going to be a problem, but you get used to it. And if you think ahead, you assign someone that job when you land. Ideally, you don't want to be doing it. You want to assign it to someone else. Why do you want to assign it to someone else when it's so easy? You could just do it. You could just grab a ladder from lighting or from the grips and you could go up there and you could do it yourself. You've got other things to do. Also, you want to be able to blame someone at all times. You're looking to deflect blame at all costs because you're experienced. You know it's going to go off. And you don't want to have to be the one to go, oh man, I didn't seal that shower cap on top of the thing perfectly. That's my bad, everybody. Everybody stand down, tools down for 10 minutes while we fix this. And you just see money just draining out of the producer's account. You don't want that to fall on your shoulders. You want to be able to immediately blame someone. So like, oh, you, Bob, why? Every time. I asked you last time, do it. Oh, come on. Anyway, it's a problem when it happens in a commercial setting because I have had this happen multiple times. And you think that it would get easier or better, and you can check and you can double check. The best thing that you can do with haze and smoke alarms is that a seasoned producer or a PM, they will hate haze. They won't like it. They won't want to use it. And you can bring this up real early because directors also like it too because it looks better. So they'll say, can we haze this place on the location scout or on the tech scout? And immediately, if the producer or production manager is experienced, they will say, no, we cannot. If they do not do that, if they give you like a little open door to it, You say, okay, well then we're going to have to make sure on the day that it's shut off from the mains, because the problem with commercial space is they will have to call out the fire department. And when they call out the fire department, that's $1,000, that's $2,000 for them to do the call out fee. They got to come, they got to turn it off. You can't actually shut it off manually. So it's a complete and utter nightmare, and the producers will not be happy. So like anything else in commercial cinematography, you have to get the producers or anyone else who's in charge to set the sandbox for you, right? You could do anything. You could make, Lawrence of Arabia. If you wanted and you had the budget and you had the locations, you could do that. But you're not in charge of those things. You're in charge of dealing with the constraints that are put there by the production. So it is in your best interest to ask as soon as possible, as soon as you know that you're going to be on the job and that haze might be a thing, and just know that haze isn't a thing on every job, pretty much. You're going to want to ask those questions. What do we think about haze? Can we do it? If the answer is, maybe, let's investigate. Okay, the first thing you need to investigate is, can we turn it off? Is someone going to be there from the location to turn it off? Because now that's a person to blame. That's perfect. If it's like provided by the location, that's a huge win. What you don't want to do, which I have done in the past, is you get into a commercial location, you get the okay to, well, maybe you don't even get the okay, like it's turned off. You're just like, oh, we're going to do scene 14 now. So let's fire up the haze in this giant space. I once did it at a horse racing like track. So you're in this big giant area where they're watching the horse racing, and we haze this thing up. You light the hazer up, and it's a huge cavernous space that, will stand 1,000 people, and they're all betting, watching the big screen, and we're going to haze it up and have shafts of light coming through. And of course, 2 seconds after I say, what would be a good idea is if we fire up the hazer, someone in the crew, I believe a runner, has turned on the hazer. They might have had instruction from someone else in the crew, myself, to fire up the hazer, and the thing, wasn't disconnected from the mains. It blows up. It takes 45 minutes for the fire department to come out. So that's all of the wages and all of the time lost where you can't record because of the sound. Also the fee. It's not a good look. Nobody's happy. Everybody's pissed, and they never forget. So what can you do in that scenario? You got to blame the runner, right? I mean, there's nothing else you can do. You can't be honest. No, I'm just kidding. You do. You say, okay, my bad. Like, I'll split it with you, or I'll do the whole thing. Like, I don't mind paying for it. You're not going to pay for all of the wages and time lost, unfortunately. But you can offer. That turns out bad. You never get a job with those producers again. But did the images look cool? Well, not really, because they weren't hazed in the end, because they wouldn't let us use the hazer after that. So it actually turned out worse. So has it blown up in my face? Many, many times. Has it also contributed to some of the best images that I have made? Yes, that as well. So you're playing with fire. I would just say, get the production to understand that you are interested in using haze as much as possible. And just realize, much like anamorphic or anything that makes the job harder or more complex, no one is going to want to say yes. Everyone is going to want to say no. But that's why it's your job to hammer home and just break them down until they say yes to some things. They're not going to say yes to everything. You might not be able to get the 1960 Russian anamorphics on the show or on the commercial, and you might not be able to get the haze on the show, but you might be able to get something like one of the 5 things. So you should come with a whole heap of problems, just a giant mound of problems. And if only one of those gets through, well, then that's a win, because you could have come through and said nothing, and it would have been boring and not that much fun. But go with lots of problems. So haze is just one of them. But the earlier that you tell them, the earlier that you set the sandbox, the better off everyone is going to be, because now you understand what you're dealing with. If someone wants to make something absolutely epic, and you think that epic requires haze, well, then they're going to work to make it a possibility. It's super easy for cinematographers. All you do is you show up, you ask the art department, like, can we haze this thing? They say, yes, we have the hazer in the van. You bring it in, you turn on the haze. That's an easy problem for you to fix. It's not an easy problem for everyone else in the production. So again, you're creating problems, everyone else is fixing them. If you're not creating problems, chances are the images and the end result is going to be super boring. Now, can you make a living doing super boring? Yeah, maybe. In like corporate stuff, or if you want to keep your job, or if you don't want to push the boundaries. But if you want to push the boundaries, if you want to do something cool, I would say the more problems that you're generating, the better. Well, actually, the more problems that you're generating before the shoot day. All right, that's the caveat. It should be lots and lots and lots and lots of problems until on the shoot day, everything just runs perfectly. And you go like, see, I told you it was going to be easy. I told you it was going to be relaxing. At the end of the day, you can go up, shake the producer's hand and say, see how smooth that was? That's why you got me, right? I just come through with solutions to the problems that I myself create. See you on the next one. Thanks so much. Okay, that's going to do it for this one. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.